I got a number of messages asking for me for some reaction to Eddie Hearn, who has recently been talking up a Anthony Joshua versus Deontay Wilder matchup. Clearly it's a matchup that excites the boxing public, and I can see why. Two charismatic heavyweights, two big guys, two massive punchers, two Olympians, and in many people's eyes, the two most devastating heavyweights on the planet right now. In terms of my initial reaction to this, my very first thought that went through my head is, let's see how Anthony Joshua gets on against Vladimir Klitschko before we start planning his next fight. Because I know in a lot of people's minds, it's a certainty that Joshua wipes out Klitschko in a matter of seconds. But in my mind, that's less clear. As you know, I think the fight's a very good fight. I think the fight's a very competitive fight. I can see the fight going either way. But gun to my head, I'm picking Vladimir Klitschko at this particular stage. So that was, if you're asking for my reaction to the talk relating to Joshua versus Wilder, that is my initial reaction. Let's see if he gets on past Vladimir Klitschko, so I think that is far from a gimmick. Further to that, let's think. My secondary reaction was probably that this is just Eddie Hearn hyping a fight with Deontay Wilder. And I think one of the reasons for that is I know Eddie Hearn's keen to break America. He's talking about working with Floyd Mayweather. He's talking about working with Al Heyman. He's talking about promoting Luis Ortiz versus Jarrell Miller over in the States. And I can understand why they want to make Joshua a global superstar. But let's be honest, Joshua is doing so well in the UK right now, and commercially is such a big player in the UK right now. If I was managing him, from a pure financial perspective, I'd be less concerned about building him in America. Joshua's an active heavyweight. Joshua's a guy who can fight 3 or 4 times a year. And I really think that Joshua could really be looking at stadium fights for the rest of his career. If Joshua is to beat Vladimir Klitschko, now let's say he drops down a level and fights a Kubrat Pulev or a David Price or a Derek Chisora. And I'm not saying he's necessarily going to take those fights, but let's be honest, Joshua in those fights sells out stadiums. From a hardcore boxing fan perspective, we can laugh and mock Joshua versus David Price. But let's be honest, commercially that's a big fight. That is a fight that for me sells out a stadium, a football stadium. Maybe not Wembley, but maybe the Emirates. Maybe Liverpool, maybe Anfield. For me, that's a fight that easily does 400,000 pay-per-view buys, maybe 500,000, maybe even 600,000 if Joshua's profile continues on the upwards trajectory that it's been on. And it appears to be doing that with the Vladimir Klitschko fight. What I'm getting at is you get all these fighters wanting to go and break America and wanting to become a commercial success in America. And traditionally, I think that's the right thing to do. Traditionally, I think that's where the money is. But I think in Anthony Joshua, we've got such a commodity commercially on our hands. I question the need to break America. Why do you need to break America when you're able to sell out a stadium 3 or 4 times a year and do 500,000 pay-per-view buys 3 or 4 times a year? I know Eddie Hearn said once you beat Klitschko there's no going back, but Joshua's a relatively young heavyweight. He could have 10 years in front of him, fighting 4 times a year. I know Eddie Hearn's probably inclined to get the money in quick and to get in the big fights relatively swiftly. But at the same time, when you've got such longevity in the career ahead of you, why would you take a risky fight fighting Deontay Wilder away from home when you can enjoy the kind of commercial success you are enjoying fighting Eric Molina and Dominic Breazeale? Now, Deontay Wilder's a beatable fighter. I know he's never been beat, but he looks like a beatable fighter. But he's also a very dangerous fighter. He's a mega puncher. He's an athlete, and he's a guy who's never tasted defeat. He's a guy who would genuinely come to win and would genuinely be throwing exceptionally heavy lever on Joshua in a way that Joshua has never experienced in his professional career to date. For me, that's a risky fight. Granted, it's a fight that Joshua would probably be a marginal favourite in, but nevertheless, that is a a risky fight. And I just wonder, all this building him in America stuff, you know, all of this, isn't that kind of a little bit needless? Isn't that a bit of hype? Can't you simply, as a promoter, enjoy the longevity of Anthony Joshua for 5 or 10 years, fighting on a regular basis, selling out arenas and mass selling pay-per-views? I don't know. I also suspect, you know, from the Deontay Wilder side, you know, if you look at Deontay Wilder's modus operandi, has he been taking on the toughest fights in the sport? Does that appear to be the way he and his team are operating? Now, I appreciate the Joshua fight would be mega money, and I appreciate, in fairness to Wilder, they did show willingness to fight Povetkin, which is a very tough fight. But Joshua's return fight against Andre Wurtz is hardly a sort of sign of intent that he's coming for the very top guys in the heavyweight division right now. Call me sceptical. So, you know, in response to what's my initial reaction to this fight, reaction number one is, let's see how he does against Klitschko. Reaction number two is, I'm not 100% sure Hearn's actually going to want to take the risk. I'm not sure he's going to take his fighter away from home when being at home is such a commercial success, and put him in with an undefeated power puncher like Deontay Wilder. I think one of the things people have to realise is, don't get me wrong, Joshua versus Wilder is a big fight. You know, if Joshua versus Wilder was on American time, I'd be one of those guys setting my alarm and getting up at 3 in the morning to watch the fight. Of course I would. But Joshua, at the minute, is the darling of the casual fans, not the darling of the hardcore fans like you and I. And with his career being built around pay-per-view in the UK, that's a big question. That's a big commercial risk. You know, do you put him on British pay-per-view on US time? You know, how many people are not going to buy the pay-per-view because it's on at 3 in the morning? You know, for me, that does make it less attractive. You know, having to sell out 20 quid to watch something at 3 in the morning rather than 10 o'clock at night. So, you know, there's a risk factor there. But then I got thinking, so that was reaction 1 and 2. Reaction 3 was actually more positive. As Joshua's been coming up through the ranks, there's kind of been these established future massive fights for him. We've kind of always known that at some point there'd be a massive fight that would sell out Wembley Arena against Tyson Fury. At some point there'd be a massive fight that would sell out Wembley Arena against David Haye. Sorry, not Wembley Arena, Wembley Stadium. But the landscape of boxing has changed significantly, hasn't it? Tyson Fury, I know there's heavy rumours about an imminent return date, but let's be honest, nothing confirmed at present. All sorts of issues and concerns outside the ring. You know, that mega fight between Joshua and Fury doesn't seem as close. You know, it was kind of a given 2 years ago that the two would clash. Now it seems a little bit of a way away. Even David Haye, I know David Haye's talking about fighting Anthony Joshua and wanting to make that fight. But even David Haye, he's just set up his own promotional company. He's talking about signing a big broadcast deal with a terrestrial TV channel. Maybe that's the way David Haye's going to look to build his new business venture with Richard Schaefer. Maybe fighting on Sky Sports pay-per-view, whilst it does represent clearly big financial potential for David Haye, maybe David Haye's going to throw himself into the future potential of setting up a new business and setting up a new promotional company. And with that in mind, perhaps David Haye is going to be more likely to want to fight on terrestrial TV and build his own brand rather than fighting on an Eddie Hearn and Matchroom show on a different channel that essentially will represent a competitor to him. You know, so that there are a lot of plates spinning at present. And I personally would say that those fights against Tyson Fury and David Haye, that for me were always going to be there against Anthony Joshua. And maybe less clear-cut than they were historically. I've always thought there'd be a big money Dillian Whyte rematch at some point. But Eddie Hearn's talking about putting him in with Deontay Wilder. And if Eddie Hearn does that, I suspect Dillian Whyte will lose. And then potentially that will, you know, make that rematch less attractive. It will always be there, but potentially less of a mega rematch, maybe more of an O2 rematch than a Wembley Stadium rematch, if you catch my drift. So So yeah, so reaction number 3, with my first 2 being negative, is actually maybe Eddie Hearn's being sensible. Maybe Eddie Hearn's looking at the big money fights out there, if Joshua is to beat Klitschko, and he's thinking, right, you know, David Haye, he's going to be wanting to build his own business on a terrestrial TV channel, maybe ITV, maybe Channel 5. Tyson Fury, you know, it's unclear if he'll even be back in the sport. It's unclear how he'll be looking. You know, maybe Deontay Wilder is the biggest money fight. Maybe there are benefits to having Anthony Joshua in the USA. Maybe they'll try and get Deontay Wilder over here. You know, if they did that, that would be a huge success. And let's not forget, Deontay Wilder did come over here in the past. He fought Audley A-Force Harrison. So he's got a history of coming and fighting our Olympic super heavyweight gold medalists in the UK. So maybe that'll be the plan. Maybe I'm just assuming, you know, that the fight will take place in the States. But Eddie Hearn's certainly been conscious to talk about Joshua's profile over there. I know they're going out for the Frampton fight to try and build his profile a bit. But it's interesting stuff. And, you know, whilst my initial reaction is negative, that it's just hype, maybe with the changing landscape in boxing, this is a realistic fight. And maybe it's a fight that, you know, could grow legs. Let's have it right. It's a fantastic fight. If it does get made, it's one of the better matches out there in the heavyweight division. And, you know, if Joshua goes and beats Klitschko and then takes on Deontay Wilder straight away, all credit to him. All credit to him. You certainly have to say, for me, that would be pretty aggressive matchmaking, given the potential fact that he's got 10 years left, you know. Do you really want him fighting Klitschko Wilder back-to-back when you've got that much longevity left in your career? But, hell, makes a lot of money, and would certainly create a lot of interest, and I know I'd be keen to see it. Let me know your thoughts, guys. Is this fight realistic? Who wins? Is Eddie Hearn throwing out hype? It's an interesting discussion. Leave your comments in the section below. If you've enjoyed the video, please hit the thumbs up button. Do take the time to subscribe so I can help grow out the channel. Click subscribe, and also if you are an existing subscriber, click the alert button so you can get notified when I upload new content to the channel. Many thanks for watching, guys. Appreciate everyone tuning in.